Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby, just call my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, baby. Remember the day I set you free? I told you you could always count on me, darling. From that day on, I made a vow I'll be there when you want me, some way, somehow. Oh, baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, baby. Oh, no, darling. No wind, no rain, or winter's cold can stop me, baby. No, no, baby. 'Cause you are my If you're ever in trouble, I'll be there on the double. Just send for me, oh, baby. My love is alive, deep down in my heart, although we are miles apart. If you ever need a helping hand, I'll be there on the double, just as fast as I can. And don't you know that there ain't no mountain high enough? Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough. Keep me from getting to you, babe. Don't you know that there ain't no mountain high enough? Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Katie Gideon. I will be the on camera facilitator for this Sunday January monthly setup. We had another monthly setup last night. I think Maya and Jen were running it. But today you have me on camera and you'll see in the chat Bailey. We are so excited. We did a weekly setup yesterday, closing out December with that final week. And now it just seems very appropriate that we're now launching into setting up January, which means new month, new year, even in that regard, which to me I feel like is wild. I am still kind of looking for August, was kind of where all of my time got lost, it seemed. But I am glad you're here. I am glad that you're taking time for yourself during kind of this little slightly weird week in between Christmas and New Year's, especially if you celebrate Christmas. But I know we have a lot of other end of the year religious celebrations that again comes into this like weird ether region before you go into New Year's. But I love seeing all of our returning socialers in the chat. Seeing your names at these events really makes me smile because you all are the best accountability buddies that we have. But you can participate in as much or as little of this social as you want. But if you want to participate in the larger chat, especially if you are new, double check that it is set to everyone. If it is set to just hosts and panelists, that comes to just myself and Bailey. So if you would like a shout out in the chat of if this is your first social or if this is your first setup social, or you're just excited to be here, we always love to see that. But we know it can be a little bit of an overwhelming display of symptom or, kind of an array of situations. Senses, Elizabeth, welcome. Because I will be talking, I will be playing music. The chat is going to be going. So feel free to kind of unplug from any of those things. Maybe you want to work just on your journal right now. Maybe you want to put that aside because you want to get some inspiration or you want to look at the examples. Because as always, have some sticky notes handy. All of those wonderful things will give some ideas and preparations for it. But again, there is no rules on how you set up your journal. We just like to set aside this time where you have the ability to sit and focus on what you want and what you need. So, as always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Please limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We love to still talk about them and we love to have them here. We just don't want it to detract from kind of the purpose of here for the setup, but we love all of those recommendations, all of those things. And as always, please redirect any of your customer care inquiries to our team, hello@silkandsonder.com. They are great. Bailey and I do not have a lot of that information, but if you find that it is something that you really need some attention, you can message us to hosts and panelists. Just in the event of wanting to highlight some of those, though, that headquarters can help you with that. And then, as always, Sonder socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well being, and decisions. So, we love to celebrate all of the great things that everyone is going through, but we also want to be a little gentle for some of those that are having maybe some not so bright spots. We're glad that you've come exactly as you are, but if you need to set up some of those mental and emotional boundaries, please do so, because this should not be triggering. You should be leaving a little bit more excited, a little bit more enthusiastic. And even I always say, if you're not leaving dancing, then I have not done my job. But we are glad that you're here and we're glad to get started. So we have a new month, which means a new theme. And so this one's theme is alignment. And I will admit, initially, it kind of threw me a little bit. We do get to see these themes a lot earlier than everybody else. And I thought it was a little bit interesting, but I do think it's appropriate for what I would consider a new, a first month, a new type thing. So I thought that that was a great focus, especially with the new year. And so here are some of the thoughts that I kind of came across. And that's the dots are connecting. You just can't see how bigger vision is coming together right now. Trust that everything is aligning for your greater good. I feel like I am one of those people that I feel like things happen or things come up unexpectedly. And I notoriously try to make meaning out of anything and everything. I am that person. If you give me a bunch of scatter plot dots, I'm going to try to analyze that data in some form or fashion and be able to provide some sort of summary about it. That is how my brain works. I come from that very analytical, got to take the chaos and define it and use something with it. So to me, that is kind of the component of alignment. But I also am fully aware, and I'm having to work on that a little bit more, of sometimes there is no method to the madness. And so I've even found myself asking people, am I making something out of nothing? And I find that that is going to be kind of a key thing for me to explore when it comes to alignment of just because there could be these very random things or these different things, they actually may not be related. And it may be one of those kind of timing is everything. I got to add a time context to things, add in a lot more variables that I may not be able to define or do something with. And then on the other side of that, I like this idea of when you find alignment, the conditions will not matter. I am a big fan of using all of the skills and working on your skills and tools and internal abilities, those self abilities, because there are going to be times where even like I'm an ocean person, it's like there are going to be days where you're just going to have to kind of accept and ride whatever type of wave is coming at you. So you learn to, kind of put your best foot forward, set up the best parameters, and then in those moments, sometimes all you can do is kind of hang on and let things fall into place as they do. And that is what I love about this is you are always going to be adaptable and flexible to whatever those situations are, that you can make those adjustments. And I do think alignment kind of fits nicely into that as well, where you can always be potentially perfectly aligned, but if that's, peg doesn't quite fit where it needs to be, you can kind of have those moments of, is this something that I want to change, or is this something that it's always going to be in that kind of alignment and you just need to step away from? Woo! So I know it's a lot, and I know it's a lot that we can go deep into, and that is what I'm excited about exploring for the next month. So when it comes to the agenda, we've got our monthly acrostic poem. We're going to do the yearly reflections first before we jump into those December reflections, January intentions, the mood tracker, and the habit tracker. And as always, please continue to put your thoughts and feelings if you want to share them in the chat, even as we move into different sections. And if I ever need to go back to a slide or back somewhere, please let us know. We can do that. So we're going to start with that alignment acrostic poem. And this is just a really kind of, I think, fun way to kind of explore your initial thoughts and feelings when it comes to the definition of alignment. And I did know that someone pointed out that there was not an alignment definition. That is correct. It has been replaced with the yearly reflection page, but I have provided quite a few examples and definitions of alignment. So hopefully that can add some context there as well. So for the acrostic poem, you're going to write the 9 letters of alignment down the left-hand side. You can find that little notes page on page 1 of the journal. That's a great place to put it, or you can use one of your full blank pages. So your setup is going to look like this with that alignment component. And I do like that a lot of the word, you only have like one word, or sorry, one letter that replicates, which I find is always easy, but it can certainly be helpful. But I do find the longer words a little bit more challenging. And so you can use them purely just as the single words that start with the letter, or you can connect them into kind of motivational sentences, quotes, or that true kind of poem talent that I do not have. Or you can get also a little bit creative of, in order to kind of fit with either your new year, your new theme, you can use these letters kind of at any port in the word that you want to start your sentence with. So again, you can be as creative as you want to with this. And so here are some examples that Maya put together because she does our slide deck with, again, some of those synonyms. And like I said, don't worry, I'll come back to these. Here are my amazing thesaurus pigeons. Who knew pigeons were so smart when it comes to those? So if maybe alignment doesn't quite speak to you, here are some additional words that you can even add to, or add some additional inspiration. I liked this kind of other thought of alignment. And then I pulled the Webster's dictionary definition of them. And the one that I thought was really interesting was the third one, with this ground plan in distinction from the profile, which I know is like super nerdy or one of those things. And it probably is a little bit more. But it was that idea of this could be a groundwork, kind of an initial thought or plan that I thought was quite clever when it came to January, especially when you're kind of designing your whole year. So I work for engineering companies, so that's where it kind of sort of came from. But I thought that was something very interesting because it was not going to be a definition or a component that I would have come up with. And then you guys provide such amazing examples. That is there. And then here again are some other ones that were posted in the Silk and Sonder app, which I love. And so you can kind of add into those things. Oop, my mouse is being weird. And then again, if the acrostic poem isn't for you, you can write a letter saying goodbye to December and hello to January, maybe saying goodbye to 2025 and 2020 and hello to 2026, especially if you came to the weekly setup with our bonus mind map. I also liked some of the other ideas of the alignment, and it is the year of the horse for 2026. And I thought this was just like a really positive and kind of motivating approach to it as well. So I am going to give you time to work on this. I'm going to stop talking and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Appreciate seeing just all of your kind of thoughts and feelings about not only the theme of alignment, but how it is falling into the new year, the beginning of the new year, as well as kind of how it has played out if you've been with us for a while with some of the other themes that are going. Because I would agree, I think it was Nicole that said it, is that they are all the themes seem to be falling kind of appropriately in line, even just with even kind of my current life plan and all those things. So I do find it very interesting and very appealing. And I also think there's that ability to kind of shift and maybe add a little bit of focus to it. But please continue to share your acrostic poem or kind of your ideas there. What is great about this is you have the entire month to kind of explore this idea and this theme and kind of different components and parts of alignment. I like that someone said it was when, my mind, my body, and my heart are all in line kind of in that capacity. So I do think there's a lot of ways to kind of tailor this or provide a focus or a foundation either to how you're going to do your maybe vision board for the year or your new word of the year or just kind of approach some of those things. So we are now going to kind of open into the now printed pages in your journal. And as I mentioned, we're going to be on page 3. So this is normally that really nice definitions page and the ability to answer the question, what does alignment mean to me? But I do love this particular setup when it comes to reflecting into the previous year and that kind of idea, because I feel like it's that element of kind of you can either make them deeper questions or they can be kind of some of those lighter things, because I do feel like we do like to ask ourselves and kind of dwell on the lessons that we've learned or what are we going to take into the new year. And I am certainly that type of person. But I love the idea of being able to look back on either the things you achieved, the people you met, the places you went, and the books that you read. And so you can do anything like this. You can change up the categories if they don't seem to apply to you. So what I did is I changed the categories, but I found someone else that changed the categories as well. So maybe one of them is moments that you're grateful for. For me in particular, it's not the people I met, it's the relationships that I strengthened. I tend to choose, coincidentally, by work. Um, to live elsewhere from my friends and family in that core village. So I always have to make that extra effort or provide that other thing of how can I still support all of my friends and family when we are so far away. So I do like to focus on those relationships when that capacity. Same thing with this can certainly celebrate the places that you have been, that like elegant list of. But really, I liked this one because I changed it to a place I visited that had the biggest impact on me. If you are with me, and I know Bailey's going to see it as well, I got to go to Orvieto in Italy, and it was just one of those foundational, like literary places that came to life in a book, and to then go see it in real life. That is just one of those profound impacts that made me just love being a reader. It made me appreciate all those habits and feelings, and then being able to carry it into the real world just added so much to it. So Orvieto will always be a very, very special place to me. And I did get to see that. And same thing with books I read. I mean, I am an avid reader. I am reading all the time. I do all of the challenges, all of those things. So I liked the idea of experiences that impacted me. So it was, going seeing a show, going and seeing a particular person performing in a show, spending time with your friends. I was a part of the main character club here. And so it's going to stepping a little bit out of your comfort zone to celebrate some of those things. And someone else did the media that was new to them, which I thought was also great. So you can do any sort of shout outs here. And you can also repurpose this maybe into your wish list. And you can either focus on one thing or you can make a list. The opportunities are, I would say, pretty infinite. But I am going to give you some time to, again, work on page 3. But if you want to share any of these categories or if you're repurposing them, we would love to celebrate those in the chat, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I love the kind of contrast that this page, I feel like, is a unique lens to kind of reflect on the year. Because I feel like a lot of times when you do the yearly reflections, and that's the same thing with the bonus mind map that we did in the weekly setups, which if you haven't been there, some already up on YouTube. And I think we have another one later today, and there's certainly one with the gens tomorrow. But I feel like this is like that fun little look before you have to kind of evaluate for the work of kind of what are you going to take out of 2025 and into 2026, which I know can be overthinking in so many ways, forms or fashion. So I love this kind of idea of, what are the bright spots, the very, very much bright spots. And I love being able to look at it with this lens as well. So now we are going to move into our more traditional monthly setups. And that is where we start with the reflection on the past month. And so this is an opportunity on page 8 in your January journal to reflect on those December wins, December challenges, and December favorites. Because while we do like to wrap up the end of the year, I feel like December does get its own little moment. You get to tell your own little story of December with, again, what was your, the high points, the adventure points, what was the conflict, what was the challenge, what was the big denouement, if you are a writing literary type. And then again, some of those bright spots specifically there. And then I like the idea of being able to kind of also break down a little bit further with the start, stop, and continue. So, what are things that you're wanting to start doing? What are things that we want to stop doing? And what are things that you maybe want to continue into the new year? But I like the ability to make that kind of intentional decision on your own. And so you get to put again the kind of good, the bad, the everything in between, and be able to look a little bit more in that idea of making that effort of, well, I do believe that this, when I started doing this, this is what created a win. If I stop doing this, this may prevent a challenge. And same thing with continuing to kind of build some of those favorite moments. And these can exactly, be just kind of a list of filling in all of those wonderful things. You can also dive a little bit deeper into the start, stop, and continue by asking the why and then the how, because the why can maybe help you build some of those foundations for the January intentions that we're going to do next. And the how can also build into maybe some of the habit trackers or those weekly pages so that you can kind of help support those intentions based on your past month reflections. And so you can connect all of these pieces, or you can be like, Katie, I ain't got time for that. I just want to celebrate my wins. I want to acknowledge the challenges, and I want to figure out what kind of little small day-to-day things that I can do to start, stop, and continue to help build those larger goals, because there are no right or wrong answers here. And so these are, again, some of the really great examples that we have. I tend to lean a bit more into the squishy, more generalization of things. As I just mentioned, I like to take chaos and make it a little bit more orderly. So I do like to do some sort of summary instead of look at very, very specific things, which can sometimes get me in a little bit trouble because then sometimes my goals are a little too broad. And I have made a little bit more of a conscious effort with my start, stop, and continues to be a little bit broader so that I can then narrow it back in on the intentions page. So you're definitely going to hear me talk about zooming in and zooming out. I also work with a lot of maps, so I do a lot of zooming in and zooming out. But I just do think that's a really nice perspective because if you come to any of our weekly setups, I'm also like, well, what do you need? So that can also be a good question. What do you need from this week? What do you need to start, stop, and continue? I like the example at the bottom because they highlighted those three things as well, but they then broke it down into each specific week and how they can carry that over into the weekly pages. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this, but as always, if you want to share in the chat, we would love to celebrate those wins, acknowledge those challenges, because sometimes it just feels better putting it out into the world of like, this was on my heart and my mind and my soul, and it took up too much time, energy, and effort. And so now I want to stop and acknowledge it, but leave it in the background as I move forward. So I have found that really helpful. And at the same time, if you want to share kind of what you want to start, stop, and continue, we would love to see that as well. But again, I am going to stop talking and I'm going to let you work on this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And even again, as we move to different pages, you can still continue to work at your pace on this. We do record all of our socials, so you can kind of always come back to that. And you can also see other facilitators' perspective, other examples, that idea there. So do not feel like you're pressured to have all of this done before the end of this. No one is going to come in and look over your shoulder and demand to see your progress. We just love the opportunity to be able to sit in kind of whatever capacity and use this time to reflect. And again, maybe it's more just to reflect, to enjoy, or reflect again with more of a purpose and kind of figuring out what a next step could be. Um, so now we're going to move into those January intentions. So this is going to be on page 9. And so we do have the listed categories. And so these are kind of our staple, but you can always make adjustments, or you can dive into them a little bit differently. You can use that theme of alignment to set your intentions, or you can use maybe your word of the year. I'm always a big advocate of you can copy and paste. I am a creature of habit. So a lot of my intentions do tend to look the same. I may just reword it or add a little bit of flair to do something a little bit different, but for the most part, a lot of it is still going to be similar. You can use the name of a song or lyrics that inspire you. I tend to go down this path because I'm always playing music of some sort. And so I usually pick what I'm kind of currently in the mood to listen to, or that kind of idea. And so when it shows up randomly on a playlist, I take it as a sign that I maybe need to go and check in on this particular intention. And so maybe it's how you want to feel. You can ask yourself some questions, or again, we love good stickers. We love good doodles. We love the amazing and the iconic imagery that can be used for these things as well. And so you can either also take the specific Silk and Sonder theme of alignment, or you can kind of pull in some of the January month themes with the, sometimes people do the Diet of January, the mental wellness month, the self-love month, and the blood donor month. I think all of these are really kind of creative ways to incorporate what you want there. And as I did mention, you can replace some of these themes. Maybe instead of spiritual health, it's more mental health or alignment. Maybe instead of personal life, you want to look more on the home life or the hygge life, as we're still kind of in winter. Maybe it's physical health, but maybe this is where you want your mental health to be if you're on a specific healthcare journey. Maybe it's focusing on your heart health, your brain health. I actually tie it into social health here, just because I do feel like I hibernate a little bit too much. So I wanted to really focus on that this go around, because sometimes a lot of my physical health is tied to my social health, where it's like if you don't really leave your house, you're not really being as physically active as you would like to do. So if I say yes to things, I currently don't have a car over here, so it does require me to then walk. So I was like, oh, how clever. All of my physical health is tied in a little bit more to the social aspect, and I love that. Maybe you want to focus on specific relationships instead of just key relationships. I'm a big fan of if you define it, it helps you look at it a little bit more specific instead of just in general. So that's where maybe you want to focus on a family member, a work one, even your relationship, marriage, or significant other, partner, kind of that ladder. You can replace the money management, or even professional goals. We know that not everyone is in that chapter, or that chapter is behind you. So maybe it's moving into a new year, the hobby goals, some of those learning and creative goals as well. And here are some amazing examples. This page is my duality page. These are great, I think, examples of the let go and lean into, because I feel like, again, you got a bit of a teeter-totter thing. So you always have to do a little bit of a give and take. So maybe it's more of something, less of something, that lean into, that let go of. And I'm also a big advocate now of, we are not Energizer bunnies. So if we're doing some sort of movement or something that has an action and a momentum kind of component to it, what are you then potentially doing on the rest, refresh, relax, re-energize, recharge, whatever cute resting that you're wanting to do? So keep that in mind as well. Because I think we can get a little caught, especially at the beginning of the year, into all of the do, where it's more of like, we can do some things, but on the flip side, we need to be able to recharge some of the doings. And then I love this one because we do like to break up with perfection, but sometimes we just don't know where we are in the particular month, or where our headspace is going to be. So being able to include it on a sticky note and then either carry it forward because it's actually a long-term intention, or just as like general ideas. And then I like kind of that idea because again, you can have some of that continuity throughout the year, or I'm in a weird headspace recently, and I think it just is what it is. Like I said, I was telling Bailey earlier, I just have a lot of maybe slightly aggressive thoughts and feelings that I probably won't have earlier. So I am putting a slight delay on me personally when I fill out these intentions, just because I know I'm in a sassy little mood and it's not going to be very productive. And then it is also adding in kind of the other ideas, adding in some stickers, focusing in a little bit more where you completely rewrite the categories and have a quote or some sort of manifestation idea under these different type of categories, but all still leading into the theme for the month. And again, like I said, we love stickers, we love doodles. They make everything just lovely, a little bit more inspirational. And the one on the right, it's not that they left one blank. It is more of they are then making that intentional effort to review how they kind of did with their intentions, that kind of check-in component. And then love all of these. I know these have been great examples that have provided for us as well, where again, you're picking this kind of one major goal that you want. First one was to reduce stress. So again, it was then changing the categories, adding in kind of that manifestation, that quote, that goal that you want to achieve, and then the action item behind it. And then I do love the idea. I know Kimberly L is one that we've used. I don't think this is her particular version, but just turning in a little bit of the manifestation or almost a prophecy type thing when it comes to the intentions. And so I love that idea as well. And yes, Bailey does bring up a very good point, is that the January 2026 journal in your hand is actually our 100th edition of Silk and Sonder, which adds a whole nother special component to it. So maybe leaning into some of that anniversary celebratoriness with some of the intentions could be fun. And so I am going to stop talking. I am going to let you all work on this. So I would love to hear if you repurpose these. Do you connect them to the previous page? And how do you make how do you put it into your routine to check back into these intentions as you go throughout the month? We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And I'm definitely going to have to echo Bailey's comments with the just being impressed with all of the intentions that you're starting the year with. And also just now the approach. I feel like now you all are absolute experts and be out of a job soon. And I think part of that is it just comes with a little bit of practice. It comes with a little bit of routine. So if you're still kind of early in your Silk and Sonder journey, please do not get discouraged. It definitely takes some time. It definitely takes a lot of work. I would say it took me probably a good solid 2 years before I really started to embrace these all wholeheartedly and kind of feel out how it connected with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And a lot of it was just giving myself permission to repurpose things where it's like, I love some instructions, but they're merely guidelines. So I like to make those adjustments as we go. So thank you for sharing. And you guys provided such really practical ways to kind of come back and focus this. And I will try to also include some of the kind of breadcrumb opportunities within the mood and habit tracker to kind of come back to some of these if you're still trying to build just a more self-care, journaly, reflective routine. So now we are going to move into those mood and habit trackers. So this is going to be page 10 and page 11. And so we're going to start with that mood tracker on page 10. And so these can be absolutely exactly as designed, where you are tracking what mood you're feeling. And I do like the acknowledgement of this photo at the bottom. Don't let one setback color your day. Pause and feel it, then keep going. Where I have really embraced kind of the power of that mood tracker because I love to dwell. I love to get worked up. I love to get angry. I love to get frustrated. And I love to sit in that. And that is what is going to color and identify my whole day. And so when again, it's talking about being able to zoom out and look at it from a monthly perspective, I dwell on the negative, I dwell on the bad days. And then when I actually kind of look at this, I realize that there were not nearly as many as I thought. And that is an amazing thing to see because then it is very much that hand in hand of perception versus reality versus expectation. And sometimes I am one of those, you got to show me how to do it. You can tell me, but I'm not going to trust you. So you can choose either 2 to 3 of those kind of negative feelings and neutral and 2 to 3 positive ones. Me in particular, I really leaned into some of the really heavy negative ones and some of the very like overly positive ones. And I found myself on a literal mood roller coaster. And once I kind of realized that, I kind of tapered them down a little bit more, just so I was a little bit more on an even keel, which was also amazing to kind of make that discovery because I was leaning into my satisfaction with dwelling on all those things, the good and the bad, but realizing that I was literally signing up for a roller coaster all the time. You can focus on the theme of alignment. You can fill in every emotion that came up that day or fill in whichever was the strongest. And then you can lean into that creativity side or whatever kind of tickles that part of your brain where you're satisfied with it. And so here is our feelings wheel. Don't worry, I will come back to that if you need to see some options or inspiration. But I do know quite a few folks are in the copy and paste mode where they kind of have the same ones that they use because that's what they like. And I fully support that. And same thing with, I like to think of things at a slightly different view. And this one became really helpful when it was the kind of seasonal depression disorder, kind of whatever you say. I wouldn't call it full on depression in my category, but there was definitely a seasonality that just hit me really, really hard this year. So I loved looking at these perspective with the feelings of the high and low energy versus the negative and positive, and how it is so connected to tones of color. So I am definitely a cool tone girly. I love to sit in cool tones. I like to wear cool tones, but I realized that that was not helping me because it was keeping my energy low and it was kind of embracing some of the slower feelings and emotions. So I did start ramping up and was bringing out some of my what I would consider traditional summer colors. And I found that was really helpful. And I think all of it has kind of helped with this type of framing. So I did. I leaned into more of the brighter colors, the even just like the brighter settings on things, and it made it a little bit better. But you can always repurpose your mood tracker. Maybe you want to track your anxiety, depression, energy levels, and you can scale these in any way, shape, or form. So the one on the top is a panic attack, and it's one of those, is it heavy, frequent, moderate, light, or none? Again, you can come up with whatever legend you want. I love the ability of being able to overlay a handful of variables. So it's the emotions versus the energy level, or even some of those, is it on a, particular day scale? Is it on some particular other cycle that you have? So there are a lot of variables you can kind of turn into this to see, to kind of pull that data and see if there are things that you can kind of adjust to make it work. Maybe you also are just on a physical journey, so you're working on your physical care tracker. Maybe you know you're going to have some moody days to come, and so it's your mood booster tracker. Same thing with, maybe it's an activity tracker. Maybe it is a particular food journey you're on, and again, another version of the anxiety tracker. And what I love, the bottom middle one is the intentions tracker. So we did just fill out 6 different intentions there, and you can pull those into the 6 categories here. And that is one of those breadcrumbs, Hansel and Gretel, help yourself out, that you can build to kind of focus on each of your intentions, either on a daily basis or one that you want to really dig into. You can kind of track it that way. Maybe you're on a book tracker. Jennifer, it looks like one of used one of her examples. Thank you. We love them for the inspiration. And I would say, if I ever call out your example and I do it completely wrong, please correct me in the chat. Usually they're pretty clear to kind of follow the path on it, but sometimes I take what I want with it and turn it into it. Um, I love the Christmas lights on one of them, because I do feel like there's that wonderful analogy of, I am feeling like a tangled mess of Christmas lights, but I still work. And so just need some time to sort it out. So I love the visual that that provides. And again, overlaying some of the different ideas, or even completely repurposing them, as well. Maybe it's more of a business habits, not like, and again, I know we have like the habit tracker that next. So maybe that's the self-care tracker habits. This is a business habit. So if you are an amazing entrepreneur or a small business owner, maybe this is what you want to focus on, especially if you're trying to kind of build or get exposure or a specific goal there. Maybe this is where that is actually helpful, because your moods can, maybe take a little bit of a step back, or maybe that's just not what you're interested in that week. I know people will ask for spending options. So here's a spending tracker, and same thing with even just the definition of a tough day versus a great day. Sometimes, like I said, we dwell on the tough days and we think that it was just all bad. And maybe it was more of, we ended on a less than positive note, but being able to look at that kind of on the back end, I think is really helpful and really powerful. So I am going to stop talking. I'm going to give you some time to work on this. So would love to hear what moods you're working on or tracking, or if you repurpose this page. But again, we're on page 10 in your January journal, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Love seeing all your thoughts with this. Love seeing the copy and paste components, the trying something a little bit new, all of the different ideas. But what I do find really powerful about these socials is that everybody shares kind of their behind the scenes, their inner workings, those ideas of how they kind of approach these pages. And that is where I have certainly gotten a lot of comfort realizing that I am not the only one staring at these blank pages in some form or fashion where they're sitting there mocking me in that capacity. And so even then, it's also been like you've painstakingly put them together and realized that like past you was on a completely different wavelength than present you. And so I know everyone, again, I feel like it's that breaking up with perfection, but there have been definitely times I rip those pages out. Or also even as reflecting as not, I don't save every single one of my journals, in that capacity. I will pull out the pages that really speak to me. So I have a ton of vision boards that I've saved, and I put those in one of our memory box in that form. So I do a lot of destruction, so to speak, but I do find some satisfaction in that as well. So now we're going to move into that last tracker, which is the habit tracker. This is on page 11 in your January journal. And so this is the ability to now kind of add some of those action items if you highlighted those in the start, stop, and continue on the reflection page. Or if that's now you've broken down the actual steps of how you're going to support your intentions that you came up with. And so you can again use that theme of alignment or your word of the year theme, or even if you're still trying to search for your word of the theme, I am still searching for that word. And that's just because I got a lot of kind of new changes on the horizon. I'm trying to somehow how I want to tackle those new changes. And even I think Bailey mentioned last night that she probably doesn't come up with a word of the year until about February, March timeframe. And I would agree to that. And I also, I'm not one that can commit to a single word. It's going to be a cute little phrase or it's going to be a word bank because I cannot be contained in one definition. And so maybe you want to continue habits from the previous month. I am definitely a copy and paste. I am a creature of habit. So I have my same three. It is move, journal, and read. It is one of those things I love to celebrate those three things because those are the things that help me recharge, refresh, me energize. Those are the absolute fundamental building blocks I need so that I can tackle my moods, I can tackle my to-do lists, I can tackle my intentions, I can tackle all those goal things that I need. But those are the three foundational things that I will do every single day of every month. And then I'll throw in kind of other things for fun. And so maybe you need some inspiration. So I think this is one of those. I've also added, I usually add a fourth in some capacity. I was having a lot of trouble sleeping and so I tend to get low energy. And so I ran into a hydration issue because I was reaching for all of the caffeinated things, the energy drinks, which was not great. So I had to add in a hydration component and that also serves a purpose. So I tend to kind of come back to those and that'll be usually be a fourth one that I do. But there are other ways that you can kind of include this. The one on the left, I always like to highlight because sometimes life just happens. So again, they had this great plan. They had all of these habits they were accomplishing. They were on a pretty good path. And then in this particular situation, COVID hit them. And so it's acknowledging and giving yourself the grace that this could have been the plan, this could have been the idea, but expectations were not there. And sometimes the priorities shift as the months go along. And so being able to give yourself that grace and the flexibility, I think is amazing. It's also the same thing with, I like the one on the right, highlighting that they have outlined the days. That includes a vacation. I am one of those people that I prefer to be on vacation, or when I have people over, I want to be present. So my habits kind of go out the window on that, and I don't track it, and I give myself permission to do so. But maybe that is the absolute foundational things that you need in order to enjoy your vacation and or enjoy your company. And so maybe those are the reminders that you want and need. Again, maybe you're focusing on a morning routine and an afternoon routine or an evening routine, nighttime routine, pick your routine, but you can break down those different categories with those 7 lines. You can also lean into, again, some of those kind of visualizations. So I did shift my habit tracker to, like I said, I'm a cool tone girl, but I do like I switched to using the brighter colors. Christy, I'm actually not too sure. I think it could be the level of satisfaction, how many times you do it. That becomes one of those you can kind of create your own version of it if you are then kind of a numbers person. But I think it is another way of, it is however your brain works. Some people like the coloring, some people like the design, some of our more analytically brained humans like the numbering system, but you have the ability to do that. But I do believe it was more of a satisfaction thing, or if they had different things that they needed to focus on, like the number of times that they did it that day or kind of in that capacity, but don't quote me on that. And then as we were talking about the breadcrumbs of how you can help yourself. The one on the left is the way to kind of track the habits that I would call the routine journaling habits. They have their 5 dailies, which are the daily affirmation in the Silk and Sonder app. You do the daily rituals. If you do a journal prompt, either with Jenny, who is our AI personal coach, maybe it's checking in with those affirmations there. It's checking into the gratitude log or the other trackers that you're working on. Same thing when you carry it over to the weekly habits and goals component through the different pages as we go. So this can kind of go hand in hand with that intentions tracker of just building a more consistent routine with your journaling or something that you kind of want to come back to. And the one on the right is definitely Bailey's. I've used it before because sometimes future me doesn't want to have to think. So past me helps them out. And I know this is a great example that Bailey used where it's like, here are the things she wants to do. Then she made a list of the things that can help support that overall habit. Because sometimes you just can't be fussed with creating something new. So sometimes it's like, here are your 5 choices, pick one of the 5. And like I said, future me is always grateful when past me made it easy. Maybe it's leaning into the particular theme. This is the same person on the right that did the Christmas lights on the other one. So kind of linking it all together for that really elegant visualization. Sometimes that's what you need to kind of get you through it, or the motivation to do so. So I love the idea because it visually looks like you got everything done. But if you want to then kind of go in and analyze it and nitpick, there are a couple of those strings that are missing some of the light bulbs, but that is perfectly fine because overall it's the progress that was made and whether or not it was, the fine print that could be lost in the sauce, but that's perfectly fine. And you all know I love my iconography. I have repurposed my expense tracker and my sleep tracker. And I just highlight those little small things that I already kind of do on a pretty regular basis. Give them a moment, put them on a pedestal so that it's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more fun. And that's everything from going on an extended walk, taking this long way home, doing a bubble bath instead of a shower. So these are all really great visuals there. And they just look so pretty. So these are all I've completely changed my Instagram and the For You page recommendations. And I did like this idea of kind of things to get rid of, kind of extend of, let go of in that capacity. So I am going to stop talking. I'm going to give you some time to work on this final page, and we will see you soon for the close. Thank you all for sharing. And I feel like, again, no secret, my music tends to be all over the place, but I do tend to lean a little bit more on the country or even like string twang instead of my, I would say, typical quartet ideas when I'm feeling a little nostalgic. I'm certainly a little bit homesick because I didn't go home for the holidays, but that's perfectly fine because I can then entertain myself with music like this and share my time with each and every one of you. And with that, we have reached the end. Can you believe it? We finished our monthly setup, but as always, we would love to continue the conversation in the Silk and Slender app. That is always a great way to get inspiration, as well as provide your inspiration to others, because I feel like there's always someone that you're going to connect with there, or that's going to be the like aha moment that you're missing. So we appreciate that. As always, we have announced our exclusive coming up in January. You can join Mayha for the new year, Real You, your 2026 glow up to focus on the new year. That does come with a fee. And if you can't attend it live, don't worry, you will get the recording of it. But that's going to be on January 15th. Bailey has included the link in the chat as well as the YouTube link for any of our upcoming events. If you've missed them or you just want to go back and see it or find another facilitator's perspective, this is a copy of my playlist. Do not worry, I will include the Spotify link in the chat after this as well. I save all of my playlists, so please feel free to find the entertainment there. And this last song was one that I found I feel like letting go, which I do feel like letting it go may be more my vibe this year. I'm kind of leaning more into it. So that could very much be my theme for 2026. But thank you all for joining us. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. You have an amazing rest of your weekend. We are going to have a great month as we hit off a new month, a new year, all the newness. But we hope to see you at a future event real soon. Bye.